Kia ora gents, today we're just going to talk about force summation and we'll look at Danny in this motion here. Again, the aim of today is to apply the 4 key principles of force summation to your photo. As you've done previously, you've had to go through and indicate your similarities and differences in 2 images, such as these 2, with yourself, and obviously start to put in the angles via huddle technique. And when you're doing your description, just remember there are the 4 key principles. The number of body parts, so we want to use all of our body, so our legs, our core, chest, arms, all the way down to our wrists. You actually see our wrists rotate when we hit it. You also want to use the correct sequence, so not use one body part before the other as we go through it. So you want to basically use your biggest muscles to your smallest, and then your timing, so using them when one reaches peak force, the other one comes in. And then finally, you want range of motion. And we can see here, obviously, Danny's got some excellent range of motion. So we'll just quickly go over this. Again, you can use some of this information, but each of you will be different in what you write because you've all performed the skill differently. I'm just touching back on what you did on Friday around your 2 images. It was great to see some of you guys writing down the differences and similarities. Make sure you do indicate, you're both looking at the ball, where this hand is in the motion. Where have you got your racket, and you had to compare at the exactly same point. So both pause at exactly when you got the back swing, which is right here. You guys should be around the same point. As far as your back swing goes, Danny's is here, and you compare yours to his at exactly the same point. So it makes it a fair comparison. So as we go into this, you can see here, obviously Danny's got his knees bent. And part of what this assignment is about is interlinking what we've learned previously. So obviously we've linked in here that Newton's 3rd law states for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Okay, and that's coming off the ground. So for his smash, he's applying a downward pressure before he jumps, so his body can accelerate through that gastrocnemius and getting that plantar flexion in the foot. And that's the language we want you guys to be using. Because we all know, and we'll talk about, that we want to hit right at the highest point that we can. And as I mentioned today, the big part of what I want you to talk about is force summation. So it's an important biomechanical principle for optimal badminton technique. It's important to use the largest muscles first, followed by the smallest, or sequentially accelerating each body part to maximize momentum. Okay, and we're linking that word momentum again, and that combination of velocity times mass. So you want to optimize your mass. Okay, and the biggest range of motion that we have, the more time we can create that velocity through our racket head. Okay, same thing with a golf driver. The longer the club, the more velocity is going to be at the end of the club. You can also alter your club head by having more weight in it, which means that there'll be more momentum hitting that ball. Okay, obviously there's other sides to it. We're a little bit less accurate when we go through it. Here we can't really manipulate the length of our club or a racket here. We will get to levers, and you can actually alter it by changing where your hand is on the grip. So you want to use as many joints involved in the technique, will produce greater acceleration and promote optimal forehand smash. So you want to, as I've mentioned, use as many in the force. You want to use the heaviest and slowest body parts move first, and if I was to name them, we want to use the correct names. So use your quadriceps and see your quad, and then obviously your abdominals through your chest, pectorals. The smaller, faster body parts move last, so that's your wrist, and you get a bit of a flick through your wrist right at the end. And then obviously you want to use, and why we stand side on is that, we can get that range of motion through our chest and through our hips while we hit. And you see when he jumps up, he's still side on, but when he lands, he'll land with his other foot, and then he rotates the body through. And we'll talk about the follow through later. It'll all start to make sense the more we go into it in depth. And the reason why I'm wanting you to apply this force summation knowledge now is that it's relevant. We've talked about it over a couple of lessons, and it's a lot easier to write about now. So just referring back to today's task, is basically all you have to do is to refer why force summation is so important and how it's demonstrated, particularly in the expert's performance. And then tomorrow's task will be going a little bit more into how it's affecting your performance. So what would you need to change to get the optimal force that's needed to hit the projectile, which is the shuttlecock, as fast as possible in the right direction. And this comes a lot from force summation. As I stated, all we need to do today is apply the 4 principles on how they should be done correctly through the expert's performance, and then the following day we'll implement how force summation needs to be improved by yourself. And any opportunity that you have, try to link in any of Newton's theories, as I did today. It was the action-reaction theory, which was the third one. As you go through it, you might want to link in momentum, because that's obviously correlated, connected to force summation. You might want to go through stability and balance, affects force summation, if a feet are too wide or not wide enough, because we all know that there's optimal, say if we're doing a squat, we're going to produce more force if our shoulders are shoulder width apart rather than right beside each other or too wide. Okay, so there's always an optimal plane of motion that our muscles will work best in. I'll leave you with that. Again, I'm expecting sort of a third to half a page worth of work, but really indicating those 4 key areas and demonstrating and using specific muscles as you go through each one. Any questions, please ask.